Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we have BinaryDNA with a side order of the Chandelier. So
Mostly just side orders.
yeah. So tonight we're doing two short ones, and for those of you not in the know, creepypasta are short, scary internet stories that get copied and pasted across the internet, whether it be on wikis or forums and such. Go Google it and go check it out. Awesome. So we're going to do BinaryDNA, or as it's also called, barelybreathing.exe. And it starts off with just some kind of, like, fringe science slash, like...
Oh, it's not fringe
half-baked,
science.
half-baked occultism.
It's
just, like...
total BS.
Yeah, it's just random. It's just, like, I've heard the phrase, I think, somewhere else, but not to the degree that this guy's, like, promoting.
Well... Yeah, this
like
is...
I've heard the term of, like, indigenous people say, like, fearing cameras because, and that's the whole thing. Like he's saying is like they say when you take a picture of somebody, it captures their soul, and when you print it off, the soul goes with it, so you have the person's soul in the picture.
And then when you send it and, like, email it and shit, it's, you know, and it's like, okay, this is
some, like,
this is an extrapolation of that. You know,
already pretty
mysticism,
like
mystic theory.
Yeah.
And it's not a, I don't know, it just doesn't. Okay, first off, the whole shit doesn't make any sense to me, but
that,
like,
yeah,
the extrapolation just makes less sense. You know, you can only have so much soul, and
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, like with doubles and stuff.
I don't think it was that it like taking a picture captures someone's soul. I'm pretty sure it was takes a piece of their soul.
Yeah.
That's the way I always heard it. And I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. It never made any sense to me. But then again,
like
we could start getting into a discussion about whether or not, well, about whether or not basically a soul exists, because I mean,
yeah, exactly. Or like yeah, like I mean,
basically we could piss off a lot of people. Then.
Yeah.
I'm a doctor. It doesn't exist.
I'm a cultist. It might exist.
It exists. I use them as currency.
I sell them for personal gain. So yeah, and like the whole thing is like just like an extrapolate. It's based off of like a misunderstanding that the tribal people had when cameras were first used by like.
And here's my favorite part. And then it's completely like different. Ignored.
Yeah. Well, they use like that as like the basic, the very like.
No, they don't, because then they jump into primordial soup.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. I didn't get that.
Okay. Well, here's the thing.
Like, okay.
The primordial soup thing.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I do understand now why. Yeah, okay, I kinda. Yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
Well, yeah, then they start talking about the primordial soup and, like, how basically, you know, a random amalgamation of elements eventually formed life.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that life was very basic, single-celled organism, yada, yada, yada,
yeah.
And, you know, through mutation, we ended up with us, and more importantly, me.
Yeah. And kind of.
But, anywho, where was I going with this? Right, and then, basically, the whole thing, like, the picture soul thing doesn't have any bearing, because basically, this story is about, I wouldn't call it BinaryDNA, I'd call it binary primordial soup.
Yeah. Like,
because
they're trying to find like that the equivalent of primordial soup in images and data.
It's trying to say that it exists.
Yeah.
Because, you know, basically seemingly random code or what have you. I'm not a computerologist. Basically spontaneously gives births out these files that do things.
Yeah, and it's like we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah. So essentially, he does those two those descriptions of like the binary and the.
I'm just ignoring all of that.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we need it for the show, Doctor.
We're good. 5-minute episode.
Oh God. So then, just like cut it there. But no, yeah. So he goes into that, and then he like starts talking about like cut to the '90s when the internet was a thing, or it was starting up, and every household had the computer and internet access, and like.
No, I didn't.
I know, right? I didn't have it until like the late '90s, at least.
Well, I think that's when it says the late 90s.
Oh, is it? Okay, I thought you said then. Anyways, whatever.
Either way.
And then so. It's just going on. It's essentially like the Tron thing. Is like connections were being made and formed and stuff like that. So what if like the internet was creating the junk like you just mentioned with the binary DNA thing? Then cut to 15 years later, from the late 90s, a group of hackers called the Cardinals were doing experiments on based off these theories to try and find like. They've collected special files like a JPEG, an AVI, and a MPEG, and it was and there was something weird about each one of them, and that was what tied their similarities. And so they would deconstruct them, like go through their code, like the binary 1 and 0 at a time, and
or one.
Sorry, I meant like 1 1 0 at a time. Yeah. And try to find the similarities, like if there was anything like similar in the code and stuff. And sure enough, there is. And these files are like essentially creepypasta files. Like the AVI file is essentially like a found footage like video clip mixed in with The Ring. And then the audio is like just a creepy audio tone, and then the images of a creepy guy and silhouetted, but it's all meant to be like, oh, these things are like supernatural or something weird about them, and this is why in the code and stuff. So then they start hunting down and collecting other creepypasta artifacts, and they actually like name drop a couple, like Smile.jpg and The Grifter, and so on and so forth. And they've collected like 7 of these files, and they've compiled and they end up with like 7 individual files, like executable files. And each one of them...
And they just... Yeah, apparently there's 7 cardinals because...
They named them after themselves, which apparently they named themselves
Good
Sins.
thing that... Yeah, and good thing there was 7 files for 7 cardinals... named after the 7 deadly sins. Like,
yeah, it's just like, there's a lot of like stuff that just doesn't.
That's there for no fucking reason.
Yeah, like there's no
other
explanation.
than like, oh, 7 deadly sins. I've seen a Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Or I've seen the movie 7. But yeah, it's just like, and it goes in and like they're working to try and figure out what these things do, because they don't seem to really do a whole lot. And then at some point, miraculously, like not even like exaggerating that, miraculously, they all blend together and mesh into one executable file called...
It's one super file.
Yeah, called barelybreathing.exe.
Yeah, a file that names itself.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It lends itself to... It lends itself... I mean, it lends itself to the whole supernatural thing, but whatever. And
it's not supernatural, dude. It's just digital evolution. God.
Yeah, see... I know, you're just like...
Fucking poking the bear.
Yeah. So yeah, they analyze this thing all like every way they can. They can't figure it out, like what it'll do. So they save it onto a flash drive, and then they execute it. And that was the last thing they ever did, because they find it, like the cops and whatever find their place like a week later, and all the computers have been trashed, and they are all dead, with like all their bare like skin, like everything that wasn't covered by something has been like microwaved and sliced by like microblades and stuff, and just horribly mutilated. And then they so the cops try to cover this all up, and the writer even says like, well, what do you what happened to the the flash drive, you may ask? Well, some people, or like a friend of mine, a friend of theirs, went to their house and couldn't find it. As it turns out, it was brought in by with custody with the rest of all the other evidence and disappeared mysteriously. And has been circulating every couple of weeks or something across the globe. And that, so whenever you look online, all you have to do is just go on the news and check out and look for people who have been murdered in their homes and their computers have been taken. And apparently that's so yeah, it's just like, and if you this thing, they trying to cover it, like the government's apparently trying to cover it up, and failing horribly because things get leaked. And if you ever find a weird image or weird like anonymous email,
an anonymous email with an attachment called "Barely Breathing," don't open it,
for fuck's sakes! Dun 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 dun. All right, so I know we kind of just like hammed through that and just made fun of it and stuff like that. I actually kind of dig this story for a couple of reasons. One, at the beginning, it was kind of losing me at the beginning because of they were just throwing fringe science and like, again, ham-fisted occultism and mysticism into it, like like technomancy kind of stuff. And like stuff that I've seen in Digimon, like as the main like theme for why like the Digimon exist in the animated features. But watching it but reading through it again, like I saw that it's like, oh well, I think this is trying to be like an origin story, or like it's trying to like give a reason for why like certain creepypasta artifacts exist, like smile.jpg and stuff like that. Is that they're like ghosts in the machine kind of thing, like the whole souls have been trapped and stuff.
Well, yeah, but it has nothing to do with souls.
No, I know,
it's
but
just,
like
that's my real problem with
is
this.
that
It should have been like half the length. It's not very long to begin with, and it should have been half the length because all of that bullshit at the start with the primordial soup, with the fucking capturing souls with cameras, it's superfluous. Completely superfluous. Yeah. It adds nothing to the story, and all it's there trying to do is trying to make the story seem more important, and it really isn't.
Yeah, I think...
And you say, like, oh yeah, it's trying to, be an origin story for all of this shit. But, and that would be cool, maybe, but...
Like, we've seen it done before.
It's just fucking...
Yeah, I know.
So blah about the whole thing.
I think, there wasn't enough... I mean, honestly, I don't think there was enough, like, thought put into it. Like, they kind of just, like, they had an initial idea, wrote it down, and then threw it out there.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly... spoiler alert, I think that's honestly the fucking theme for the week between these two.
Yeah.
Is that, they had an idea, and maybe the idea was alright. Like, I'm not poo-pooing the idea per se, although... I usually do end up poo-pooing an idea like this when it's done properly. But instead of exploring the idea, they just fucking vomited it onto their fucking WordPress and fucking sent it out.
Yeah.
Why? Because they couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, which...
And that's the thing that pisses me off. You can't be bothered? Why the fuck should I be? Put effort into it, put the work into it. Make something worth reading. Don't just make something for people to read. Make something worth reading. If you put in time, then it's worth other people to put in their time. That being said, it's a fucking origin story for,
creepypasta objects.
Creepypastas that... A lot of those pastas weren't really worth reading.
Because I think we've touched on at least two of them.
Yeah, I remember fucking...
we did Smile Dog, or Smile.jpg.
And we did the fucking Mickey Mouse one.
Yes, Suicide Mouse.
Yeah, Suicide Mouse. But, it's just, I don't know, it's lazy.
Yeah, you could also point out that this, it is kind of, lazy by name-dropping. It's and that's where it's oh, we'll get some attention by name-dropping these popular ones. Yeah, I can see that.
That's not even what pisses me off, because I get you, it is kind of trying to be an origin for those, but it's not doing anything with the attempt to try and be an origin.
Yeah.
It's
Like, it doesn't extrapolate on it. It doesn't...
Yeah. And I mean, like, oh, let's throw in the seven deadly sins for zero
also,
fucking reason.
Especially when we're, like, told that they decide to name them after themselves, the seven deadly... and then named off the seven deadly sins. Like, why are they named the seven deadly... Like, where's that, like, part of the story?
Yeah. Like, there's... I don't know. There's no reason for a lot of the shit that's in this story, and... Again, it feels lazy. It feels like an half-formed idea that's trying to trick us into thinking it's not lazy by being pretentious with the whole camera soul, with the whole seven deadly sins, with the primordial soup shit. It's like, oh, look at me. I'm so, refined. These are the things that I'm talking about. And then I'm going to give you a half-assed story that hopefully, you won't pay as much attention to because I was so pretentious.
So, yeah, like, I get that. The other thing, when I was done reading it, I realized I'd gotten this sense of, like, submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. Like, kind of like, it felt like reading it, like, the way it's laid out, it kind of feels like a fireside story. Like an actual legit campfire story, the kind of maybe like not an actual campfire story, but the ones that you hear in like media and stuff, like it's like the man with the hooked face, and it was me, like kind of thing. Like I don't know, I kind of got that vibe off of this, like that's kind of where they were trying, like a cautionary tale, but it was I could envision like being like told this at like a campsite or something. I don't know, maybe it's just
I don't know, I didn't get that.
Fair enough,
but
yeah, we're two different people, whatever. I don't know, I still enjoyed parts of it, so...
Yeah, but that's the thing with a half-baked idea. You can enjoy parts of it. The problem is that it's only half done. Like, it's... And in this case, I honestly wouldn't even say half done, because I came up with an idea...
And then just filled it with pretentious...
Yeah, and then,
it does feel
and that's
very...
lazy. Like, it's just... It's the worst kind of laziness. It's the laziness that insults your intelligence. Yeah. And that just pisses me off.
Yeah, like, even if, like, those things did have something, like, they had, like, they knew that they wanted to connect this stuff together, they didn't connect it together right, or properly. Alright. So I guess we'll move on to the Chandelier, which, I don't know, you know what, I don't know why, like, I personally did like this one. It's just a nice little short story, with a twist ending. Which, spoilers, whatever, you're about to hear it anyways. Like, it starts off, like, this guy, or this girl, I guess, I don't know, her parents, are in love. They get, the dad gets her mom a large, like, 2-story chandelier thing, and so then they find a house that'll accommodate it, which apparently is like some crazy, like, has like a tower in the middle of it.
It's a fucking mansion. So
okay,
it has a fucking
6-story.
It has a ridiculous stairway, and yeah.
So they just
it's just a really nice house.
All right,
it doesn't have a tower. It's not a wizard's house. Well, I mean, it might have a tower. It's a fucking mansion.
Yeah,
but
regardless, yeah. So and they install it, and like, everybody's happy. Like, the mom, like, the narrator will, like, spend days just lying beneath this thing, like, looking into the crystals, and it's like...
No, I don't think he spent days doing it. I think he spent the days.
Oh, okay, days.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay, yeah.
It's...
And, like, the wife is, like, or the mom is, like, all, like, enamored by it. It's like, or they're a dreamer, and it's like, but no, I'm not a dreamer. It's, like, so pretentious. We're kind of going into pretentiousness now.
Well, no, it's just like me, you know? Like, oh, you're a dreamer. Fuck you, I try to stay awake.
Yeah,
I don't like to dream.
It's like, I don't want
being contrary for no reason.
It's like, I didn't want to sleep. I wanted to, so I'd, like, lie down, or I'd dance around in the below the chandelier.
And then the next paragraph literally starts with, one day I woke. But I wasn't a dreamer. I fought sleep with every breath. One day I woke from an afternoon nap. Like...
Alright, yeah. Well, I mean, like, again, they were being poetic, I guess, or something. I don't know. It's...
But...
Yeah, I know, it's contradictory. It's like, no, if I'd sleep my dying breath, I woke up one day. Now I can't unsee that. Damn it. Yeah, she wakes up, or they wake up with a startle, or the sound of snap, or like groaning metal and stuff, and she goes out and sees that the chandelier has broken its supports except for the nylon rope. That's the last bit of its support. And what's more, her little brother is down on the below it playing with the train, and so like they yell down to him, and they look up, and then that's the last she sees him as the thing just comes down, but not before the mother leaps above it, or like leaps over the child to try and protect him from the crash, to no avail because they both die. And this crushes the dad and her, or the narrator. I don't know why I keep thinking it's a her, but
they're genderless. It's credited to Dalek Emperor. So,
oh no!
Use the male emperor, so I guess it's a he.
All right, whatever. And apparently, like a week or so after the funeral, the dad had the chandelier rehung, and so that the narrator could still lie down below it and see its glory and stuff.
Well, no, it was because he'd gotten it for the narrator's mom, and it was hers, so
she would have wanted it this way.
Yeah. Whereas I don't know.
Seems like a hazard after that first time, after it snapped.
Well, I mean, you're gonna fucking, put it up proper, I guess, this time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so the character, like, would still go lie under it just to, like, see it, but the crystals aren't as shimmering as they were. It's now dull. At night, it doesn't create that star field that it used to when the moonlight comes in. It's just, there's non-existent. And every so often, a shred of the truth will peek in that it's not the chandelier up there, it's my dad. He's hung himself.
Because he didn't hang the chandelier. He hung himself.
Dun, dun, dun. I don't know. I really enjoyed, like, the twist, like how it went from, like, really, like, nice to, like, really dark. I just really liked that. Like, I enjoyed the read. So I did think it was a little pretentious. Like second or third reading, I did think it was kind of pretentious, but.
Well, I mean, again, yeah, it is kind of pretentious, but that's not why I hate it. Although it doesn't help.
Yeah.
I hate it for the same reason I dislike the other one, is because, and I don't hate it, it's just, I don't like it a lot, because it feels like they had an idea for that twist ending. Like, oh, we'll start with a chandelier and we'll end with a dead body, like a hung body. And then it just feels like they didn't put a lot of effort into getting there. Like, they had an idea, and they wrote it down, and they submitted it for the internet's approval. That, again, it feels, I mean, this one's...
I feel like this one's a little bit more...
better done?
Like, I feel like this one's a little bit more cut and dry. Like, it punctuates itself a lot more. It's more finalized than the other one.
Yeah, but it's empty. It's soulless.
I can't disagree with that, but...
That just, I mean, it seems... it's just, I don't know, this one is... To me, it just feels empty, like, on the inside. It has all of the points, but it doesn't have any...
soul?
feeling to it. Someone has taken its picture far too much.
Wow. Nice segue, or nice, like, tie-in to everything.
Yeah.
You try.
I do what I can.
I mean, I really, like, yeah, I disagree with that, because, like, I don't know, I found it was a charming, dark twist ending at the end, or, like, it was a charming story that started, like, nice and cheerful and then went dark. And I really liked that sudden contrast. So I honestly would probably recommend this one to somebody. But, yeah, I don't see it being, like, soulless or anything like that. Like, I was content after reading it.
I don't know. It just, yeah, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't do it for me. Because, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's just because I've seen that, happy, everything's fine, and then, bam, dark twist. I've seen it done so much better so many times. But, yeah, it's honestly just, it should be longer, really, is what it boils down to for me, is that if this was longer, it would be better. It wouldn't be, like, I mean, as long as, the length wasn't just...
It wasn't just filled.
As long as it wasn't, artificially lengthened by being, dumb like the other one, like, oh, chandeliers steal your souls, and chandeliers can sometimes form primordial soup. You know, as long as it didn't do that, then it would be better. It would be...
Well, like, how would they, like, that's, like, I just don't understand how...
By not being just so, okay, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point. This feels like a story in point form. Like, in bullet form, like, bam!
So you want
every paragraph is like, my dad bought my mom a chandelier, and we bought he bought a house and hung it for her. Then we were born, and then, you know, like, my dad didn't, like, it's just information dumping as opposed to telling the story.
You'd like a little bit more narrative to it. Like, you want to know, like, you want to get to know these characters before
well,
the
you
drama
need
happens.
to get to know characters that are going to die before they die, and we get to know...
Like,
we don't get to know them at all.
The most we know is, we know that George's name is the name of the kid, and we know that he likes trains.
We don't even know he likes trains. We just know he was playing with one.
Yes.
And we know his dad favors
The mom.
the mom and the son and George more than our narrator.
Yeah.
But, like, how the fuck did they drop that superfluous information? Because that has no bearing, you know, like, other than the fact, like, oh, the two things I love most died, so I'm gonna die too. Like, but that could have happened even if he, you know, even if our narrator had been his favorite son.
Yeah.
It's just fucking point
You just want it, you wish it would have been more of a narrative, like more of a long, like elaborated narrative than, than the summary we got.
How can I feel any emotion or understand any other character feeling any emotion for the deaths of characters? Like, I don't care if a kid dies. I don't care if a woman dies if I don't know them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know the mom's name.
Yeah, we aren't really...
Her death has no effect on me. But it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't with the way it's written. Like, the father's death has no effect on me either. Like, honestly, all I can think about when the twist ending comes around is like, so, like, there's no servants in this, like, palatial mansion.
Yeah, that's...
Like, no one sees this
they're the
kid
only
lying
ones.
under the corpse of his father.
I kind of like attribute to her, like, she's just been like, or he or she or whoever it is has just been like lying there like for days. Like, at that point it's just for days because she just wants to try and relive the magic that happened beforehand. And she's delusional, or they're delusional and can't comprehend that it's actually their dad up there.
Yes, but you understand
like,
what I'm saying?
I
no
kind
one
of,
has been to this home.
No, I get you. Like, I kind of actually, like, when I was reading that part of it, I kind of envisioned that, like, all the, like, whatever life was in this house is now it's now just like an old, it's now just a dreary house with, like, maybe some leaves still, like, scattered on, like, the tile and shit. And I know, like,
Yes.
that's my own imagination.
But that's not what happened.
I know, and that's my own imagination just filling in the gap. So it kind of supports your thing, is like, there needs to be a little bit more elaboration.
Exactly. Like, it's just... It's a story in point form.
Yeah.
It's like the Cliff Notes.
It's a summary of somebody's longer story.
Exactly. But since this is the story, it feels lazy to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything that's missing, and this is where I get fucking artsy. All the words that are missing are the words that make up the soul of the story.
Yeah.
Of the heart, you know, the emotion.
They give you, like, they make you
None of
feel
that,
for these characters.
Yeah, and because none of that's here, like, I just can't support that, because it's like if art were made with science, as
Which
opposed...
you never should.
Well, which, I mean...
It's done. But
and when it is, it's usually rather...
It's a masterpiece, but not a soulful
Yeah,
masterpiece.
it's a formulaic thing, and that's what this is. Well, I mean, it's not formulaic because it's missing the most important part, but what it's missing is the stuff that a writer puts into his story, or her story.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's missing here. Like, the idea isn't horrible, but an idea doth not continue a good story.
Yeah. As we have seen multiple times in the show. All right, I will concede, like, I would actually, like, I enjoyed the short read I got, but hearing you out, I would actually like to see a longer version of this.
Exactly.
Like, get to know these characters before we get to the twist ending. Or maybe even, like...
I don't have a problem with the idea. Like, the nice twist ending. Like, I don't really have a problem with it. Just the execution was...
lackluster for you.
Yeah, it was subpar.
Yeah.
It was lazy. And...
I gotta wonder, though, if the laziness that you're describing was unintentional from the writer in this one. Like, maybe they just wanted to write this quick story. And, like, can you really blame them for being lazy if that wasn't the intention?
The thing is, when you write, you don't dictate how long or short it is.
Okay.
The story has to play out properly.
Yeah.
They strangled the story with its own umbilical cord.
Or its own.
Well, no, because then it would already dead.
Okay. Fair enough.
I was also trying to allude that they killed it in its fetal stage,
Gotcha.
you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was painting a picture with words.
Yes. I wasn't catching on the words between the lines. We're artsy today.
But, you know what I mean? Like, I hear what you're saying. They may have tried to, make this, like, they might have just set out with the intention of writing a shorter story.
Yeah.
But this story...
deserves a little bit better.
Exactly. This story deserves more, and by getting less, it's lessened.
Yeah.
Really, in general, these are two examples of don't take shortcuts when you're writing stories. And they're two different examples of the same thing.
Yeah.
I call it laziness because I'm a jackass, and I just go for the worst crime possible every time. Of don't shorten a story just so that it fits some parameter that you've preset in your head. Because if you do that, you're usually cutting out what is the most important part of the story. And secondly, don't try to artificially lengthen it by being, by throwing in useless information.
Yeah.
Or useless pandering.
Or useless examples. Like,
yeah.
I could see kind of where they were trying to fit in, like, the primordial thing, and, like, because you do get it in spots. Like, they do mention... Like, he's trying to, like,
the primordial soup bit, that may...
And the soul one doesn't quite work, I will give you that.
I just don't understand I don't understand how it affects the rest of the story. Like,
at best, I think what it was trying to do was trying to link, like, that whole concept to how some creepypasta things are created, like the smile.jpg and stuff, are actually just like the essence of something put into digital form.
But it never actually made that connection.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I think that I was able to make that connection.
You made the connection, but I don't think. But the story
I did
make the connection, but the story never made the connection.
Whereas
Whereas the story was like, random ones and zeros have given birth to these
creepy
programs.
Yeah.
And, like, that's not a horrible idea.
It's been done a couple times in movies and anime.
But just the execution was, like, that one really did seem lazy to me.
Yeah.
And the worst kind of lazy, because it knew it was being lazy, and it knew it had a subpar thing, so it tried to put in all of this stuff, all of this pretty makeup, and a sexy dress to kind of... Yeah. And basically, it felt like a, fucking $4 hooker.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, I guess we're getting down to the meat and potatoes of the show, where I won't recommend BinaryDNA. I like a lot of the ideas, but as we've discussed on this show, ideas don't make a story very good to read. And while I did enjoy while I did kind of get a weird, like, nostalgic campfire, like, story kind of vibe off of it, it should have been, like, the story itself wasn't cohesive enough. So
no.
I won't recommend it for that. And for Chandelier, though, I will recommend it just because I didn't hate it. I liked the read that we got, even if it is a short thing, like, super short thing.
Well, and I mean... I've talked a lot of shit about both of them.
Yeah.
I don't see anything redeemable in BinaryDNA. I mean, even the name just seems wrong. Mm-hmm. Chandelier, at least what they have is well done. So I will give them that, and I honestly will recommend it not because it's great, not because it's good, not even because it's competent, although it is competent, but because it did leave me with a feeling that I enjoyed. And it's one of those things that's really hard for me to explain. Sometimes when I read something, I'm just left with this emotion. It's not even an emotion, it's just a sense of an emotion even. And this one left me with something that was something that I don't normally get, especially from creepypastas, but something I don't normally get when reading anything. So, like, there is something there.
It also left you wanting.
But I gotta, well, not wanting. Honestly, by the time I was done with it, I was happy, but I was happy to be that it was over. But I don't know. I'm gonna recommend it because hopefully other people get that feeling too.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully the writer's listening and maybe does another revision of it.
Yeah, it definitely could stand for a longer version of it. I would enjoy reading a longer version of it.
All right. Guess that's it for this week's episode. So if you liked what you heard, or you have comments, or need to correct us on anything, you can send them to put them in the comment section below wherever this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Tumblr, Facebook, YouTube. We're on iTunes, so leave us a review. Every little bit helps. You can send us messages on Twitter at Dr. Leviathan or at Review Cultist. And you can also send us an email at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com, where you can also send us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. Also, if you'd like to support us, we do have a little donate button on the Tumblr site, crazonstudios.tumblr.com, where all the title cards for each episode get posted up. Right on the side, there's a little donate button. So, until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm still Dr. Leviathan.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well. Podcast over. I didn't hate them. I hated them. 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 I didn't hate them.